Bro, I'm not rebuilding by trading away my best defensive player. Who's better on defense than Landon Collins? Go ahead, I'll wait. Trade Olivier Vernon because he's already been paid and he's overpriced and he's underperforming. But who on that? Alex Ogletree ain't better than him. Lorenzo Carter's a rookie.
You're 1-7. It
They already
really
got rid
doesn't
of-
matter
they
if
already
you
got
get
rid
a
of
first
Harrison.
round pick.
Bro, I'm not giving a first round pick for a guy I'm gonna have to pay. You're gonna give him a first round pick for a guy you have to pay? I gotta give you my first round pick and I gotta pay him.
Do you see the issue here? Do you
Think
see
about
the
it.
issue here?
He might not want to re-sign with me if I
that's
trade
what you
with
have
him.
the franchise
so
tag
that's
for.
stupid.
You have the franchise tag for.
But
But
you can't
yeah,
franchise a
man.
guy you traded? I thought that only worked with like the team that drafted
No,
him.
I'm saying you can use the franchise tag on any trade.
trade.
Yeah, if the deal's expired, you can use the franchise tag.
Wait, but was he a part of that new CBA where like the 5th-year option thing carries over?
I don't know what you're asking.
Was he a part of the new CBA deal with his draft class?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind then. Yeah, he can pretty much he goes wherever they want him to go. But I'm not trading him if I'm committing myself to wanting a good defense. I'm trying to find a free safety to pair with him. I'm trying to find another corner to pair with him. Like, you don't subtract from your defense because if anything, then that pick that you're going to use to find another Landon Collins, you should have been using to finding another guard or a right tackle. It's stupid to just trade him just to say, "Oh, we're going to clean house." You have a future time. You have a offense that has the skill players in place to be dominant for the next 10 years. But you're going to get rid of your best defensive player? Why? Because Eli's trash and the right side of your line is trash? And your defense is young and inexperienced all over the board? That's not a good idea.
All right,
so Giants
man.
probably did the best thing by not trading anybody.
Another person who didn't get traded, probably the biggest one, Le'Veon Bell. Is he screwed?
I think he's screwed in the sense that they had the Rams defensive coordinator coming out talking shit about him, saying that they actually win more games without him. They put up more yards without him. And honestly, I really think that the Steelers should have just traded him. But at this point, it's just a matter of who's going to out-petty who. I think had he reported, they probably would have traded him. But since he didn't report, and he's probably not going to report till the deadline just to get his money, if he's really going to go all in and forfeit, then honestly, he might just be the Kaepernick of running backs. Or the Kurt Flood of running backs, I should say. Because Kurt Flood, in baseball, sat out for free agency and won, and then got blackballed and never got any money. Le'Veon is kind of in that same realm, but when it comes to NFL running backs, where it's like you need to pay top running backs all at the same time when they're good. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be paying guys like Le'Veon, guys like David Johnson. You should be paying them in their prime, not saying, "Oh no, we don't negotiate, we don't do this, we don't do that." That's bogus.
I've heard people say that he might not even play. Like, the Steelers just might not even play him.
They're not going
Which
to.
is really crazy when you think about it. Number one.
First off, Connor's not a better player than he is. Connor's just having a better start. They're galvanizing around Connor. Like, when an offensive line really believes in you and galvanizes around you, whereas, like, if they hate your guts and they're not really as willing to block for you, like, that's a toxic environment for Le'Veon Bell. He can't go back in there, and his teammates, his offensive teammates, clearly don't want him there. Or if they say they do, talking on another man's money is kind of really disrespectful and wrong. I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't step foot in there. I'm like, nah, I'm going to salvage my body for whatever team I go to. I report just so I can be a part of the team.
And honestly, the Steelers should just take him back, no questions asked, because getting a fresh Le'Veon Bell when the whole league is pretty much wide open, why wouldn't you want that?
But they're selfish because they don't want to pay him.
Why wouldn't
selfish?
Why wouldn't you want to get a ring? Like, why would you let your own pettiness get in the way of you winning a ring? But
that's what the team is using against him, and it's like, dog, if you go to work, Pete, and let's say you work and you put in record numbers and you were the face of your company for like the first 4 years, you're there, and all of a sudden they just don't pay you. It's like, wait, Like, I need my contract renewed. Like, no, just come in and keep working, keep doing what you're doing. We'll eventually find a way to pay you. You'd be like, the fuck? Let me use all my sick leave. I'm out.
You just described a scenario that happens to millions of Americans,
but they
across
don't have
the
any
country.
Leverage.
Especially,
he has leverage.
especially people in the journalism and publication world. So, like,
but do they have leverage?
It's not worth comparing it because.
But I'm saying if they said
that wasn't a good example, that didn't prove
no,
your point.
kind of what.
That didn't.
Journalism is its own shit show, dumpster fire in itself.
I'm saying it's the same thing with
no.
with
Listen,
anything.
we're just not going to pay you. You have
that
to report.
Happens all the time.
We're just
man.
not going to pay you, bro. I'm not coming in. I'm looking for another gig, or you're just gonna have to. You're gonna have to take the next step in this. And with the Steelers and Le'Veon, if you got the Ravens defensive coordinator coming in talking shit, like that was a concerted effort against this dude, and people are piling on him. There was already negative reporting against him in the media, so it's like, nah, I'm doing what's best for me, and his agent should be doing what's best for Le'Veon. I'll report, but. Dog, you're not going to pay me. You didn't want to trade me. So clearly, this isn't about business anymore.
All right, man. So let's move on. Let's move on and talk about the Raiders.
I wish we had a vomit sound. Can I get 2 more of those? And the side of a womp.
Yeah, so the Raiders just got smoked on Thursday Night Football versus the formerly 1-7 San Francisco 49ers, who rolled out a second-string quarterback in his second year out of Southern Miss. So, yeah, that happened. You can't write that sort of stuff, but, hey, it happens when you have a coach who doesn't know what he's doing. You have players retiring in the middle of the season. Shout out to Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, who actually was just signed, like, 4 weeks ago.
Wasn't getting no playtime.
He was getting playing time. He just didn't get playing time last week.
He was at 85 on Madden.
Which, by the way, is dumb as fuck because the Raiders essentially played Carl Joseph and Garyon Conley last week. They actually played decent and played hard so that they could try and trade them, and then pretty much went back to playing their old safeties who can't run this week, which was dumb because they got beat and gave up touchdowns to
Nick Nelson played Pierre Garçon,
who always goes off against us, like historically with the Colts, Redskins. He always goes off.
Yeah, and just want to point out the Raiders had pieces to trade. They just didn't do it.
I don't think they got value. The thing is, I don't think they got value for them. Like,
Conley
was a first-round pick 2 seasons ago. KJ was a first-round pick 3 years ago. So they weren't going to get equal value for them because they both haven't been performing.
They haven't been playing.
So that's what I'm saying. You might as well play them and give them a chance to return that value. But the fact that you didn't trade them and you're still not playing them, it doesn't really make sense.
It's an abusive stepfather relationship.
And I really don't blame other veteran players on the Raiders who are asking for releases and retiring and quitting. And honestly, I really don't even know how Bruce Irvin didn't get traded. Papers. And I feel bad for Kelechi Osemele, who's probably playing through injury, came back this week finally.
And got knocked on his ass.
And he's been getting knocked on his ass because he hasn't been that good this year. But I think I'm thinking it has something to do with the injuries he's been battling.
And, they had a rookie left tackle next to him, so him and Donald Penn had a certain synergy.
And Rodney Hudson's been the only consistent person along that line.
Poor Rodney Hudson.
By the way,
the Chiefs to the Raiders.
Colton Miller
actually got hurt.
So
Ian Silverman was
literally.
David Sharp came back too.
I actually wrote a blog about this on Silverman blog, which you can check out. But I said, are the Raiders the worst team in the NFL? And when you really break it down, you look at all the sorry-ass teams. Number one, the Raiders barely beat the Browns, who have 1.5 wins more than them.
I just want to point out.
They lost to the Colts, who have 2 wins more than them. And they just lost to the 49ers, who now have a win.
Yeah.
But when you break down.
And the starting running back.
When you break down the Raiders' actual roster and you think about, okay, do they have the core building blocks that you need? Do they have a corner? Do they have a quarterback? Do they have a running back? Do they have a receiver? Do they have an O-line, D-line? Raiders have none of that. The Raiders have a quarterback who is supposedly the future of the franchise, depending on who you ask, depending on the week, and depending on how he develops with his coach. You have a running back who's 30, who we keep saving for the playoffs, even though we're not going to make the playoffs, but nobody really wants to talk about that. And then we have a bunch of old receivers because we traded our best one, even if we did get fair value. And edge rushers, well, they're trash. I think the Raiders had 7 sacks, which was the low point in the league. So, yeah, Raiders pass rush is trash. And
shout out to Frosty Rucker, defensive for the Oakland Raiders, liking our Instagram post earlier.
And they drafted a left tackle in the first round, which probably would have been a bright spot, but then he gets hurt and he's playing inconsistent. So, yeah. I don't know.
The Organic Frost. That's his Instagram name.
The Raiders really got a lot of problems going on, and it really hurts my soul because this was the last Battle of the Bay, which if you actually look at the history.
It's quite violent because Niners fans are horrible people.
If you actually look at the history, the Raiders and 49ers have actually only played 9 games as the Battle of the Bay because the Raiders spent 20 years in L.A.,
Get left and get back.
Joe Montana and Steve Young actually never even played the Raiders in the Bay. You'd have to actually go back to like the 70s, which the best game was kind of the one that birthed Ken Stabler when he came in for Derek LaMonica and they came back to win. Outside of that, and then we had the Khalil Mack game where he pretty much single-handedly beat the team.
Yeah.
His rookie year, and that was like our first win of the season.
Yeah.
And really our only bright spot in the Dennis Allen days.
Oof.
So, yeah, man, the Raiders had one job. It was to beat the 49ers in the Nick Bosa Bowl or whatever,
at least be
the first-round pick. And they didn't
Oliver
do it.
Bowl.
They looked trash. And even last week against the Colts, they lost. They lost. It was a competitive game, but they played hard, and they looked like they were having fun again. And I was actually kind of getting excited again. I felt like, oh, maybe this is a turning point. And then Thursday night, you go out and lay that egg in a game that's literally in your backyard, that's literally closer to you than the actual San Francisco 49ers game, and you lost. Miserably, horribly. And in the retros, in the alternates, you don't lose in the alternates.
You don't lose in the color rush?
First rule
I think that's their first loss in the color rush.
First rule of any sports is you never lose in the alternate jerseys. You can't take a chance, be like, hey, we're going to wear our alternate jerseys that we never wear on this game, on that calendar, and then get your ass whooped.
That's happened to teams I've played on a couple times. Pretty sure the same thing with Pete. It happens. It does happen.
It's not supposed to happen.
It's never supposed to happen. But it happens.
But, yeah, outside of that, any other thoughts, anything that you want to add to my Raiders rant?
I think I pointed this out in a group chat or just somewhere. I said, this Raiders cast is kind of like Power. I think I said John Gruden is Proctor.
I'm going to need you to stop comparing the Raiders to popular culture every single week.
No, that's the funny fucking part. Tyreek is... Shit, I forgot who Tyreek.
Ain't nobody watching fucking Power.
No, Tyreek is the most hated though. So I damn it, it was a good one.
Do you even have a Star subscription?
No, I don't. I just watch other people talk shit about it. No, I'm gonna cycle back around to who I said was what, but just the bottom line is, man, the Raiders are so bad. Oh, by the way, Derek Carr is Tommy. Yeah, like it's gross and disgusting how just inept they are on the field, but the decisions made off the field. Like Amari Cooper for a first-round pick is probably the best trade they've had since the Charles Woodson trade. Because Randy Moss trade was terrible.
Woodson left in free agency.
What's left in free agency?
He left in free agency.
I thought he got traded.
No, he didn't resign. The John Gruden trade is probably the best trade they've ever had, and they still didn't do anything with those first-round picks.
Wow.
So, yeah, man. Can we move on?
Yeah, but I'm going to come back to that Power reference.
All right, man. So, get to your college football spot.
So, Texas lost to Oklahoma State like 38-31 last week. They were ranked 6th in the country, and they're like, "Oh my God, Texas is back. They're a playoff team." Fucking dumbasses! I told y'all Texas is trash.